Denzel Washington. In 1992, Denzel Washington played Malcolm X in Spike Lee's movie about the civil rights leader. The film showed Malcolm's life from his rough childhood, his years in prison, his time leading the Nation of Islam, and his final split from the group before he died in 1965. To prepare for the role, Denzel studied Malcolm's speeches, voice, and even body language. He practiced the way Malcolm moved, the way he talked, and the way he looked at crowds. Many people who had known Malcolm said watching Denzel on screen felt like watching the real man again. Everyone praised Denzel for giving one of the best performances ever seen in American film. But when the Oscars came in 1993, Denzel was nominated for Best Actor. A lot of people believed he would win because his role was award-worthy, and the movie carried so much importance. But the award went to Al Pacino for Scent of a Woman. Pacino played a blind army officer who spends a weekend drinking, driving fast cars, and guiding a younger man. While people liked Pacino's acting, most of them agreed it was not his best role. The reason he won was that he had been nominated many times before without winning. The Academy gave him the Oscar almost as a reward for his long career, not for that single role. This meant that even though Denzel's work stood out that year, the statue went to Pacino. The choice caused anger and disappointment among many viewers. People felt the Academy had ignored a performance that told an important story about American history. For years, critics have called it one of the worst Oscar decisions. Denzel's Malcolm X is still studied in schools and film classes, while Pacino's role in Scent of a Woman is rarely remembered in the same way. Angela Bassett. In 1993, Angela Bassett played Tina Turner in the film What's Love Got to Do with It? The movie told the story of Tina's rise to fame, her marriage to Ike Turner, and the years of abuse she suffered before finally leaving him and building a solo career. Bassett trained a lot for the role, building her body to match Tina's stage strength and learning her movements and mannerisms. Although she did not do all the singing, her stage performances in the movie were so realistic that many viewers thought she was actually singing live. Critics praised the way she balanced Tina's toughness on stage with her pain and fear off stage. And at the Academy Awards in 1994, Bassett was nominated for Best Actress. Many fans of the movie expected her to win because her performance had gained so much attention across Hollywood and in the media. The Oscar instead went to Holly Hunter for her role in The Piano. Hunter played the role of a mute woman in 19th century New Zealand who communicates through sign language and music. While Hunter's role was praised for how difficult it was and the emotions she gave, several critics at the time said Bassett's performance had more energy, physicality, and dramatic weight. In later interviews, even Tina Turner herself admitted that she had stayed away from the film because the abuse scenes were too painful to watch, but she admired Bassett's courage in taking on the role. Decades later, Bassett faced another major loss at the Oscars. In 2023, she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for her role as Queen Ramonda in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Her performance showed a grieving but powerful mother holding a nation together after the death of her son, King T'Challa. Early in the award season, Bassett won several other major honors, including a Golden Globe and a Critics' Choice Award. This built the expectation that she would finally take home an Academy Award. Instead, the Oscar went to Jamie Lee Curtis for her smaller role in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Hattie McDaniel. In 1940, Hattie McDaniel made history as the first black person to win an Academy Award. She won Best Supporting Actress for her role as Mammy in Gone with the Wind. The movie itself was one of the biggest films ever made at the time, and McDaniel's performance stood out because she gave Mammy an undeniable presence that wasn't just background comedy. Even though she had broken a barrier no one else had crossed before, McDaniel was not treated like the other stars of the film. When the movie premiered in Atlanta, she was not even allowed to attend because the theater was segregated. It was so bad that at the Oscars, she was forced to sit at a small table in the back of the room, separated from her white co-stars. The studio head had to get special permission for her to even enter the hotel where the Oscars were held, because the building still enforced rules against black guests. When her name was called, she gave a very moving speech, but she had no family, friends, or co-stars sitting near her. Clark Gable, the film's white male lead, had threatened to boycott the event in protest of her treatment, but McDaniel convinced him not to make a scene. Even with the Oscar in her hand, she was still banned from attending many of the film's screenings and parties that her white cast members went to freely. She was celebrated on stage for one night, then pushed aside the moment she walked out of the building. After her win, McDaniel was not offered the kinds of roles her white co-stars received. She was mostly given the same maid and servant parts that she had always played. When she tried to take more serious roles, she was told that audiences would not accept her in them. Meanwhile, her white castmates from Gone with the Wind built long Hollywood careers, appearing in lead roles for decades. Even as one of the most talented actresses of her generation, McDaniel has still not escaped the limits Hollywood placed on her and her acting career. Sidney Poitier. In 1961, Sidney Poitier starred in A Raisin in the Sun, a film based on Lorraine Hansberry's famous play about a black family in Chicago struggling with poverty and racism. Poitier played the role of Walter Lee Younger, a man desperate to give his family a better life, but crushed by unfair systems around him. His performance showed a lot of raw frustration, pride, and hope all at once. People who saw the film said no other actor could embody Walter Lee with such perfection. That same year, Poitier was ranked as one of the best actors in Hollywood, but when it came time for the Academy Awards, he was ignored. Instead, the Oscar for Best Actor went to Maximilian Schell for Judgment at Nuremberg. This was not even the first time Poitier was overlooked. In the 1950s and 1960s, he was the only black actor consistently being cast in lead roles, but those roles were chosen carefully by studios to avoid upsetting white audiences. He was often cast as the safe black man, like the doctor, the teacher, the calm negotiator, rather than the full range of characters white actors could play. This meant that even when he carried films with his talent, his acting skills were limited. While white actors of the same era got opportunities to play the roles of heroes, villains, and lovers, Poitier was forced to represent respectability for an entire race. He had to carry not just his own career, but the burden of how Hollywood wanted black men to look on screen. In 1963, Poitier finally won an Oscar for Lilies of the Field, becoming the first black man to win Best Actor. But even that win came with limits. Hollywood celebrated him as a legend of progress, while still keeping him out of many roles given to white stars. In later years, Poitier himself admitted that he was trapped by the image the studios built for him, unable to break free into riskier or more controversial parts. Whoopi Goldberg. In 1985, Whoopi Goldberg made her film debut in The Color Purple, directed by Steven Spielberg. She played Cicely, a poor black woman in the rural South who survives years of abuse, humiliation, and hardship before slowly finding her voice and independence. Goldberg had been working as a comedian and stage performer before the film, but this was her first major movie role. She transformed completely for the part, showing a lot of pain, fear, and strong emotions with her acting. Critics praised her for being able to carry such a heavy role in her very first movie, and many of them said it was one of the most powerful performances of the decade. Her acting was so authentic that people who had never seen her on screen before thought she must have been an experienced dramatic actress already. The film was nominated for 11 Academy Awards, including Best Actress for Goldberg. It looked like the movie would be the star of the ceremony. Instead, it became one of the biggest disappointments in Oscar history. The Color Purple did not win a single award. Goldberg even lost Best Actress to Geraldine Page for The Trip to Bountiful. Page was a respected stage and film actress who had been nominated 7 times before, but had never won. Many critics and insiders believed the Academy finally gave her the award as a career honor, even though her performance in that one film was not considered as good as Goldberg's. After The Color Purple, Goldberg's career took a complicated path. While the film had proven her dramatic skill, Hollywood was slow to offer her similar leading roles. Many of the parts given to her afterward were in comedies or in films where she played eccentric supporting characters rather than the central figure. Meanwhile, white actresses whose first big roles made an impact were quickly given more dramatic chances to grow their careers. It wasn't until 1991, 6 years later, that Goldberg finally won an Oscar, but not for a lead role. She won Best Supporting Actress for Ghost, where she played the role of a funny psychic. Even though the award gave her recognition, many still remember that her very first film, The Color Purple was the role that should have given her the top honor and secured her place as one of the best dramatic actresses of her time. Chadwick Boseman. In 2020, Chadwick Boseman gave his final movie performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. It was a story set in 1920s Chicago about the struggles of black musicians against racist music producers. He played Levy Green, a trumpet player with big dreams struggling with the turmoils of life, anger, and heartbreak. Boseman filmed the role while he was secretly battling stage 4 colon cancer, but no one in the public knew he was sick. Even many people on set were unaware of how much pain he was in. Despite his illness, he delivered a performance that critics described as raw and heartbreaking. He showed both the fire of youth and the pain of a man trapped in a world that refuses to let him rise. Then, behind the scenes, he was taking treatments, losing weight, and suffering in silence. When award season began, Boseman started to win major honors. He took home the Golden Globe for Best Actor, the Critics' Choice Award, the Screen Actors Guild Award, and many others. These wins made people expect that he would be awarded the Oscar as well. The Academy even rearranged the 2021 ceremony, moving the Best Actor category to the very end of the show, which was unusual because it is usually Best Picture that closes the night. This made people believe they were planning to end with a tribute to Boseman, who had died in August 2020 at only 43 years old. Leading up to the Oscars, his widow Taylor Simone Ledward had accepted several awards on his behalf, giving emotional speeches that added to everyone's belief that the Academy was preparing for a historic moment. But when the envelope was opened, the winner was not Chadwick Boseman. The Oscar went instead to Anthony Hopkins for his role in The Father. Hopkins was not even present at the ceremony, and because the show had ended on Best Actor, the broadcast cut off awkwardly with no speech and no tribute. Many viewers were left shocked and angry, not only because Boseman had been heavily favored to win, but also because the Academy seemed to have built the entire night around the idea of honoring him, only to deny him at the last second. Hopkins himself later admitted he had not expected to win and even paid tribute to Boseman in his own statement. Eartha Kitt. In the 1950s and 1960s, Eartha Kitt was one of the most unique stars in America. She was a singer, dancer, and actress who spoke 4 languages and performed on stages all over the world. She became famous for her smooth voice, witty personality, and ability to stand out in any movie she acted in. In Hollywood, she appeared in films and also played Catwoman in the Batman television series, where her acting was unmatched. Unlike many black performers of her time, Kitt was very unapologetic about her identity and refused to fit into the roles Hollywood tried to force on her. Her music career took her across Europe and South America, and she became popular beyond the United States. For a while, she seemed unstoppable, and everything seemed like it was going well. But that changed in 1968 when she was invited to a White House luncheon hosted by First Lady Lady Bird Johnson. During the event, Kitt was asked about her views on the Vietnam War, which at the time was a heated and divisive subject in America. Instead of giving a polite or safe answer, Kitt spoke her mind directly. She said the war was destroying the lives of young men and tearing families apart, and she pointed out that poor people and minorities were being sent to fight while politicians' children were safe at home. Her comments shocked everyone present there, and the First Lady was even reported to have been brought to tears. What Kitt said was true, but it embarrassed the Johnson administration in front of the press and political guests. The backlash against her was quick. She was blacklisted in Hollywood almost overnight. Many studios refused to work with her, and the U.S. Secret Service even opened a file on her, labeling her as a problem for speaking out. The Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, created a report that described her as a sadistic nymphomaniac, a term meant to discredit her reputation. While white celebrities who spoke against the war, like Jane Fonda years later, continued to find work and recognition, Kitt was shut out. She spent most of the next decade performing overseas because American television and film would not hire her. By the time she returned to the spotlight in the late 1970s, the damage had already been done, and she never regained the level of Hollywood stardom she had had before. Samuel L. Jackson. In 1994, Samuel L. Jackson played the role of Jules Winfield in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction. Jules was a hitman who quoted Bible verses before killing people, told jokes in between moments of brutal violence, and had a huge change of conscience by the end of the film. In short, Jackson's performance was unforgettable. His delivery of Ezekiel 25:17 became one of the most famous monologues in movie history, and it was repeated by fans for decades. Many critics at the time wrote that Jackson had stolen the film, despite sharing the screen with John Travolta, Uma Thurman, and Bruce Willis. And when the Oscars came around in 1995, Jackson was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. It looked like it was certain he would win, but when the winner's name was called, it was Martin Landau. Landau played Bela Lugosi in Ed Wood, the old horror actor who had fallen on hard times. While his performance was also praised, it did not have the same hype as Jackson's. Even Jackson himself thought he was about to win. In fact, when Landau's name was called, cameras caught Jackson clapping but visibly frustrated, later admitting he had muttered a curse under his breath. The loss was considered one of the biggest shocks of that year's awards. Jackson's role in Pulp Fiction had already changed his career, turning him into one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood. But the fact that the Academy overlooked him in favor of a much smaller performance fit into a long pattern of white actors getting the awards black actors deserved. Although Jackson went on to have a historic career, becoming one of the highest-grossing actors of all time, appearing in films from Star Wars to The Avengers, that first Oscar nomination is still remembered as the moment he should have won. Cicely Tyson. In 1972, Cicely Tyson starred in the film Sounder, which told the story of a black sharecropping family in Louisiana during the Great Depression. She played Rebecca Morgan, the strong and caring mother who struggles to hold her family together after her husband is sent to prison for stealing food. In her performance, Tyson gave dignity to a role that Hollywood usually ignored, showing a black woman as a full human being instead of a background servant or comic relief. Her work was heavily praised, and she received an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. It was extremely rare at that time for a black woman to be nominated in a lead category, and many people believed she had a real chance to make history. Sadly, at the 1973 Academy Awards, Tyson lost to Liza Minnelli for her role in Cabaret. Minnelli played Sally Bowles, a loud and flamboyant nightclub singer in the 1930s Berlin. Her performance was energetic and very showy, but while critics admired Minnelli's charisma, many at the time said Tyson's role had more weight because it perfectly showed the real struggles of everyday black families in America. Tyson's acting did not rely on glamour or a flamboyant lifestyle. It was all about real strong emotions and superb acting. Yet Hollywood chose the flashier and louder performance by a white actress. This showed just how different Hollywood's treatment of the two women ended up being after the award. Minnelli's win helped secure her place in the industry, even as her later films did not match the success of Cabaret. Tyson, on the other hand, continued to face very limited opportunities. For years after Sounder, she was offered very few leading roles. It's not news that Hollywood often typecasts black women, but Tyson refused to take roles that she felt degraded her or supported terrible black stereotypes. This meant she turned down many offers and sometimes went many weeks without any work. Even though her performance in Sounder is still considered one of the most important in film history, it did not lead to the career growth she deserved. Which of these black actors do you think really deserved the spotlight they got robbed of by white actors? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, then hit the like button and share it with everyone you know who would love to see it. If you'd like more videos like this, then subscribe to our channel and hit the notification icon so you don't miss our next videos.